Well, they did get some stuff right. On May 29th, WCW puts tickets on sale for the July 6th visit to the Georgia Dome, and it looks like they're going to set a record in a hurry. With no matches announced whatsoever, WCW sold over 14,000 tickets for over $541,000 in sales, and that's with no matches announced. It actually beat the Starrcade 97 gate by $120, and it did it in its very first day. By a couple of days later, June 1st, they were over 17,000 tickets sold, and there were over 623,000 tickets, or $623,000. So this is really, really going to break major records here. And upon hearing these numbers, surprise, surprise, Hulk Hogan volunteers to work a non-title dark match on the show against Goldberg. And Meltzer writes of this, and this is pretty smart. This is one of the reasons Hogan is where he is in the business. All those tickets have already been sold without anyone having knowledge of the match. No doubt when the match is officially announced locally in about a week, it will help sales even more. And with it being the final Nitro before the San Diego pay-per-view, where both Rodman and another celebrity are expected to shoot a major angle at the show, this will be pushed heavily. WCW was planning for a 24,000 seat setup, but now the tickets are going so well, they're going to expand it to a 38,000 seat setup and could approach $1 million gate for the first time in the history of the company and the first time in the United States for anyone other than the WWF, which had at that point done it 6 times. And with all this is said and done and the event is over, it won't be remembered as WCW Nitro drawing the house or Rodman doing an angle. It will be Hogan and Goldberg drew the house. And more importantly, Turner and Time Warner bigwigs, some of whom will be in the building that night, will be amazed at the crowd for a wrestling event. And of course, attribute it to Hogan since he's the biggest name in the main event. So there's so much to cover on this July show that we'll get to in a minute. But before we do that, when you hear these records are being made and then broken just a few months later, because there was a record set in January, we just talked about it at the Georgia Dome, and now we're breaking it already. And all of that broke the Starrcade record from the month before in December. Do you feel like this is, the pinnacle of WCW? Because I know for years and years you had to think, well, we're going out of business any day now. And now you're setting records every few months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was our high spot. This is our biggest deal. And I think a lot of that, I think WCW's was put on the map by us signing Hulk Hogan. I don't think there's any question about that, because we had the hardcore, if I can use that term, wrestling fans. They would watch us and the old school wrestling fans. But when we got Hogan, that exposed our business, what a term, to a whole new group of fans, because he was a big name. And anybody who will tell you, there was a guy who worked in our pay-per-view, and I can't remember his name. There was a guy that said that our pay-per-view buys for the first Hogan match, which I guess was in Orlando.
That's right.
Okay. Our buys for our pay-per-view match went through the roof, and we're through the roof ever since Hogan was with us. So I think we neglect sometimes to talk about how much of an impact Hogan made on WCW. And I don't think there was any question that night was our biggest night. Well, because it looked like to me, and I know it was I know they curtained it off and everything, or did they? It just looked like to me that we had completely sold out the Georgia Dome. And, Atlanta was our home. And that to me, that seemed to be the pinnacle of everything that we did ever done.
Let's talk about Hogan. Do you think this is mastermind level stuff here for him to sneak in the top spot after the show was already on pace to smash the records, or is this just Dave trying to villainize the Hulkster, brother?
Yeah, I think Dave is trying to villainize the Hulkster, but I think a lot of that, because Hogan had that, apparently is out in his contract, or that he had final say on his character.
Right.
I think a lot of that was done. I think it's pretty obvious. But I think that was the only way Eric Bischoff was able to sign Hogan, to give him final say on his character.
Sure.
I don't know if Hogan sneaking in at the very end was Hogan being Hulk Hogan or not.